Good afternoon, dear participants, dear colleagues, in person here with us and online. We are looking forward to continuing our agenda. This is the fourth and the final session of the symposium. Looking at or over the horizon and an opportunity to maybe revert back still on some of the key issues and also explore some potential ways forward that the increasingly global WAM community of practice may consider from now on and looking forward. I believe there is maybe a few newcomers online. To the others, I've already introduced myself. Hardy Giezendanner, a senior researcher at UNIDIR and its conventional arms program. And I am being joined by my colleagues, Matilde, associate researcher also within UNIDIR's CAP, and Dr. Andrea Varisco, who is a weapons and ammunition management expert with UNIDIR in a consultancy capacity. Andrea, we have not introduced before, but allow me to also briefly do that. Andrea is also and continues to be an associate senior researcher at CIPRI. And he was previously director of CIPRI's arms transfers program, amongst other positions that he held with CIPRI. He has also worked as head of analytics with conflict armament research before and has extensive field perspectives and experiences as well, primarily in conflict-affected countries in the Middle East, in South Asia, and in the sub-Saharan African region. So, and Andrea is independently working as an expert, not just with UNIDIR, but with a number of other organizations as well. We are delighted to have you, Andrea, with us and the team here. What we would like to propose in the 20 to 25 minutes that remain is that first, it has been referred to throughout the day. We have used a tool, a polling tool, and a short survey questionnaire that you were able to dial in, log in, provide some information there. So Matilde will provide us a brief overview of the responses that have been received and a short summary there, which we also hope then provides maybe some further entry points as well to pick up on for Andrea. Andrea will try to keep it short and provide some preliminary summary thoughts of the very and recognizably very rich and discussions and information, experiences and knowledge that has been shared by different stakeholders throughout the day. Then we'll have an opportunity to still have a few minutes for further questions, answers, and contributions from the floor before we'll move to the closing session. So that's briefly what we still intend to do. And without further ado, please allow me to hand over to Matilde.
Thank you, Hardy. As you mentioned, yes, I will be sharing with you the responses we had to the poll. So briefly on the first three questions, meaning your belonging, most responses were received from government representatives and UN or other international organizations. Most of respondents have more than 15 years of experience in this field. So probably while not all had the time to fill in the poll, this is a very a good representation of the WAM field. And then if I remember correctly, yes, most responses were received from Americas and Africa. But please, if you haven't done so yet, you're still on time to fit into the poll. So with these, I think we can move to the first question of the questionnaire, which is regarding WAM contributing to the implementation of different instruments. So most of you see WAM approaches contributing to the implementation of the firearms protocol. And then I think we have an equal score for the POA and the ITI, while a smaller number for the framework for conventional ammunition and the Arms Trade Treaty. The second question concerned integrated WAM approaches into other efforts and frameworks. I think participants pointed out the importance of providing comprehensive training for all arm-bearing agencies within their nations, integrate WAM into development and reviews of different rules and legislations at the national level. Participants also pointed out how WAM can be useful in different processes, among which preventing radicalization of youth, and so also the importance of engaging with youth when discussing weapons and ammunition management and frameworks. And then I think more than one participant pointed out the importance of multi-stakeholder dialogue, including in conducting joint assessments with regards to WAM. I see also a reply on integrating into, of course, SSR programs and other relevant processes. I think, well, that kind of covers it. Of course, we can spend more time on this, but maybe we can move to the next one. Well, a second one was on key lessons learned from the symposium. So I think on that, of course, many of you flagged the importance of country-specific experiences being shared, particularly with a focus on hearing from the NATCOMs for those countries that have that mechanism. It's been very, very useful for participants to hear about the progresses made by the NATCOMs. So thanks also for that experience being shared. A second point was on the importance of enhancing dialogue, but also keeping a focus on context-specific understandings of weapons per se and the processes that relate to that, so a balance in this sense. Also the importance of political changes at the national level and the importance of financial stability when we discuss integrating WAM approaches into different levels. I think, let me just see if there are some new ones. Okay, otherwise I think we can move to the next. The next question was on enablers for effective strengthening of WAM frameworks. The biggest percentage of responses was on, of course, political will and existence of legal frameworks that could facilitate then the enhancement of and the strengthening of WAM frameworks. Of course, then the importance of national strategies was mentioned and national approaches, and then institutional capacity and cooperation among different stakeholders. Next, please. With regards to main issues in ensuring effective provision of international cooperation and assistance, I've spotted three key ones, but then I'll read through. One, of course, is political will, but also knowledge and awareness about what's available, how to get that assistance, how to reach out. The compatibility between national policies and then priorities of the UN and how those two speak. I think a point on an overall lack of coordination, collaboration, and information sharing, also not only regarding raising awareness about how to ask for assistance, but also at the national level. And then I think monitoring and lessons learned and evaluation was also mentioned as a challenge. So ensuring continuity at the national level for the receiving states has been flagged as something that has been challenging when requesting assistance. Yeah, I think we can move to the next one. So another question was providing ideas and suggestions that, in your opinion, could contribute to strengthening international cooperation and assistance. So, well, strengthening different mechanisms such as CASA and expanding them, the integration into other approaches, among which human aid proposals, enhancing bottom-up approaches, and as we mentioned already, multi-stakeholder dialogue. I think I also had a point on more partnering at the regional but also international level, and then of course enhancing capacity building. I think we can move. Regarding new insights that you gained from the WAM Symposium, I think, well, one is clearly the importance of comprehensive approaches when it comes to WAM and the importance of knowledge sharing, but also the importance of adjusting different legislations to comprehensive WAM frameworks and evaluate also budgets and financial possibilities when it comes to implementing these frameworks. I think everyone agreed on the symposium having been a good opportunity for all of us to get together and share experiences and the importance of that. And overall, I think it was for everyone a good occasion to share knowledge, but also gain knowledge about the different perspectives from UN agencies, national perspectives, and regional ones. I think we have two more, which are regarding, well, your questions, the questions we didn't answer, and also next steps. When it comes to question, I think there was one, well, it was referring, I think, to Nigeria, but generally, how can the UN support more in dialoguing with governments to establish, the example for Nigeria was national centers, but I think in general, the importance of the UN support in this dialogue at the national level. What are other available tools to track WAM progress at the national level? And then, well, what is in store for the future, which I think is everyone's questions at this point. And with that, I think we can move to the next step, which is the last one. Most of participants replied that increasing knowledge, information, and experience sharing among different stakeholders is clearly one of the most important next steps for increasing a global WAM community of policies and practices. And then, of course, also strengthening approaches to international cooperation, supporting the implementation of these frameworks at the national level, and providing research advice, but also support in raising awareness and making this knowledge available to states. I think with these, of course, fostering a better understanding of gender impacts was also mentioned, and the implementation of framework, not only at the sub-regional level, but also at the multilateral level. You can keep sharing your results. We will store them in our own monitoring and lessons learned database, since for us as UNIDIR, I'm sure this was a great opportunity to also identify some useful next steps in our work in this field. So with that, I think I will give the floor back to Hardy and take this opportunity to thank you all for listening to this stroll of the questionnaire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matilde, for this. Delighted to see those results, and I believe there have been a number of very important points there that have come through. So I would also encourage those that have not done so to please still make use of this tool until the end of today. We're looking forward to also increasing still the number of responses that we have there. We understand it may be a limited representation, and also to reiterate what Matilde has just said, it's a tool, and the information that is entered there will be stored securely by UNIDIR and is solely used for the purpose of this the symposium and the reporting maybe, but will then be deleted permanently. And that I just wanted to also mention. But with this, over to you, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, Artie. Thank you for the kind presentation before, and good afternoon to everyone in this room and at home. I have the task to summarize the key issues and try to look at the way forward, which is not a really easy task, and I'm also aware of time. I had 25 pages of notes, which I condensed in 2, and I'll try to stick to 5 minutes. And most of the issues and topics have been already covered during the day and by Matilde, so I will go through what we discussed today, try to highlight a few main points. Apologies in advance if I don't report on everything. I took notes of everything, but we have limited time, so it's all my responsibility on picking some key points here. So we started this morning by learning from the opening remarks, the keynote address, but also from our first session about the global framework for through life conventional ammunition management, which complements and reinforces most the already existing normative frameworks. We also heard that the new agenda for peace as a central theme, disarmament and arms control, and provides an additional cross-cutting framework for weapon and ammunition management. We have heard the activities of UNODA, but also we have learned more about some regional instruments, such as the ECOWAS Convention and CIFTA, and the different activities in Central America. And I think I would take from this initial first session a couple of main points. The first is the importance of regional approaches that have been also mentioned in the national perspective later in the day, and also something that came from the audience in terms of some of the challenges that have been identified in the Q&A. There were very interesting points that were raised, how this framework relate to a reality where in some situations in conflict areas diversion is up to 80%, or the problems related to private companies and their weapons, or some implementation challenges that you might have in this normative framework, and the importance of data we heard, and this is probably a good way forward, particularly to understand how diversion happens. In Latin America, we have seen that most of diversion happens after an initial legal transfer. We had a very engaging side event with the different perspectives from UN support assistance for through life weapons and ammunition management. We heard from UMAS in Libya, the perspectives of UN Department for Peace Operation on DDR, UNODC, the DPO on security sector reforms that actually highlighted also an important point that is the financial aspects behind weapon and ammunition management. And we have also heard from UNODA and their assistance activities. I think there was a wealth of knowledge, experience, and different possibilities to receive support from different UN agencies. I took 2 main points. The first is from Simonetta presentation on more coherence and coordination that can allow to develop joint assessments, but also more coherent and coordinated approach, which as a consequence can have a coherent approach to funding and therefore to better implementation. So to some extent the value of integration. And then I took another note from the presentation of Mr. Daniel Prince. I quote, when UN SDGs are for renewal, another security anchor could be for governance of weapons and ammunition management. So to be prepared for 2030. I take it as a way forward, our possible point that can continue in the coming years. We have heard in the afternoon the experiences from different states and national authorities that have conducted the weapons and ammunition management baseline assessment with UNIDIR. Ghana, Haiti, Burundi, Somalia, Benin, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Niger, Liberia, and Nigeria. We have seen different perspectives for countries with different problems related to weapons and ammunition management or challenges. Some countries are also under an embargo. What I would take is first something that emerged from the poll as well, the political will as a very important enabler, the importance of the assessment, so the importance of having national ownerships and involving different national stakeholders. Of course, every country has its own experience and its own challenges, but some of the common challenges I identified are those related to establishing normative and legal frameworks. So several state representatives and agencies talked about standard operation procedures, action plans, national action plans, and also this medium to long-term thinking of weapons and ammunition management, not as something that can solve everything immediately, but as a sort of medium to long-term process, and therefore plan accordingly. And also, several states highlighted the importance of regional and international instruments being part of those normative frameworks we have identified in session 1. I also noticed some challenges. Some of them are common, like funding. Others are more technical on marking machines or other aspects more technically close to implementation of weapons and ammunition management practices, and the necessity of evaluate, and several countries also highlighted the help and support received by assistance providers. This brings me to last session, the session previous to this one, where we had 3 implementers. First, we heard the approach of assistance from Ms. Marianne Vidal-Mezey. She shared different views that were raised as well during the days. She highlighted particularly the importance of regional organization to exchange information and discuss common elements and experiences. We have heard from MAG. I took note of the final 2 words, interconnectedness and coordination, and also this sentence: the web of cooperation is the only way to deliver international cooperation assistance sustainable and effectively. And also from Himayu from CAR, we have looked at diversion. We heard a bit more on how diversion can happen through particularly stockpile leakages, battlefield capture, and unauthorized retransfers. The main takeaway, apart from, of course, providing all of you the opportunity to know more about the work of these organizations and also the other organizations that have been mentioned during the session. I think a couple of main points have emerged in the Q&A. One on the point on how crises are interconnected, where there is but at the same time we have a different level of understanding and support and alignment. So sometimes the measures are aimed at ending conflicts or ending a crisis in one place, but when we talk about something tangible and that moves, like weapons and ammunition, sometimes we move the problem somewhere else if we don't address it comprehensively. And then the value of monitoring to know more about how weapons become illicit, about diversion, and therefore it's a call for research that was also highlighted in the first session. With that, I am conscious of time, and I leave it to Hardy on looking at potential ways forward. I think there are two extra small points that I would like to make. One is, I guess that also from the attendance online, there has been a request on more information about how to get assistance, how to have guidance so the high value of knowledge and information sharing. And as part of this knowledge and information sharing, I will consider also this symposium as one of these opportunities. I've seen in Matilde's responses that at least 2 respondents called for a second symposium. This is not on me, but I'm reporting, and therefore this is what I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this, Andrea, so much. Before maybe saying a few words myself, I did wish to open the floor and see. We are aware it's been quite a long day, a rich day, a lot of information, exchanges, topics, themes touched upon. But I did wish to see whether in the room present here or whether online there are any participants, colleagues who had something they thought important but may not have heard reflected or have not yet had and taken the opportunity to contribute today and still wished to do so. This would now be a good moment. And please, I see, sir, you have the floor. It's the representative and expert from Liberia.
Thank you. I don't have any question. Basically, I must thank the rapporteurs for a great job, flagging all of the issues that were discussed since the start of this symposium. I will appreciate what the rapporteur or UNIDIR could kind of share with us the report that was presented by the rapporteur that will enhance our understanding of some of the contributions from our colleagues in terms of the work we do and to further engage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish to revert back to that point that you've raised in a few minutes, and I look forward to doing so. I've seen also Thomas, please.
I have 3 quick points that were mentioned, but I would like to emphasize them a little bit more. There is a need within the UN system to raise awareness when it comes to the fact that WAM ultimately is a political issue. And I remember a few years ago in the development of the SOP for weapon and ammunition management in the context of DDR operations, that we received lots of pushback from colleagues in the system, not understanding that this is the case. So raising awareness with relevant political parts of the House, I think, is important. My second point relates to something that the colleague, I think, from Burundi mentioned. Apology for that if it was not the colleague from Burundi. How actually weapons and ammunition, particularly when it comes to collection, can constitute a strong reconciliation activity. I've seen the monument in Colombia as part of the collection of weapons there that had a very strong reconciliatory aspect behind it. So probably also from your side, from our side, understanding how the collectibles can play a role even in constructing peace in the aftermath of the conflict is important to explore. In addition to that, the initiative of Humanium years ago by probably some of you are familiar with that, by the by the Swedish organization, I think it's worth exploring, particularly to what concerns providing communities with the means to implement projects themselves. So Humanium, for the information of everybody, is a product that comes up out of the process of transforming weapons collected through different processes into watches. You have one. Okay, thank you. So this is the one that our colleague Andrea has there. They are sold at a very affordable price. I remember the member states at the Security Council at some point received one. So how we innovatively process the collectibles in the context of weapon ammunition and benefit communities, I think it will be hugely important. My very last point, weapons and the linkages to illegal exploitation of natural resources and how the illegal exploitation of natural resources fuels and refuels the conflict, including through the accusation of weapons. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for these four very important points. All are well noted, and I think that I won't go into the details of all four, but I think they're well noted, and some of which that we have also been aware on and already exchanging on. So we, from UNIDIR side, look forward to continuing that as well. I've seen first, Madame la représentante du Burundi, s'il vous plaît, et après le Nigeria.
Je voudrais partager avec les autres une des stratégies qui est très importante pour lutter contre la prolifération des armes légères de petit calibre, mais qu'on n'utilise pas très souvent. C'est surtout le monitoring sur la violence armée. Si on arrive à faire des statistiques sur la violence armée dans un pays, ça peut inciter l'administration territoriale pour conjuguer beaucoup d'efforts dans la lutte contre la prolifération des armes légères de petit calibre, parce que chaque mois, par exemple chez nous, chaque mois, on doit reporter, on doit faire un rapport qu'on doit donner au niveau hiérarchique et jusque dans les provinces, dans les entités provinciales. Et comme ça, chacun voit les incidents qui se produisent dans son entité et doit conjuguer beaucoup d'efforts pour juguler ces incidents. Donc, c'est un outil qu'on peut se servir pour juguler le flux des armes dans le pays.
Merci bien pour cette contribution, and I see the representative and expert from Nigeria. Sir, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to lend my voice to the fact that there is no one fit-it-all solution. Countries are different, challenges are different over an issue. So the way to it, for me, is each country should be addressed individually. There can be no questionnaire that will answer to the problems of specific issues of all the countries. I want to give an example. In Nigeria, for example, all procurement of weapons you need to get what we call the EUC, End User Certificate. It's in one office. When you go to some other countries, I will not mention names, there are more than one institution that issue End User Certificates. So you can't bring Nigeria's issue and then solve it with some other, country. So I will encourage that countries are addressed and looked at, because we were told not to put names, but you will see that from some of those responses that nobody will have asked Nigeria's question but me, because I wanted to be specific. So I think we need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this contribution. We appreciate that. I think looking into the room, we have two more, and then we would move on. But please, Monsieur Yvener, le représentant et l'expert du Haïti.
Oui,
Yves Neptune des douanes haïtiennes. Je voudrais vite rebondir par rapport aux considérations du collègue qui vient de prendre la parole. Et bon, je ne suis pas vraiment tout à fait d'accord. Je crois, et à entendre tout à l'heure quand j'étais sur la table, et l'introduction de Burundi, c'est presque les mêmes réalités en Haïti. Et que vous soyez en Amérique ou en Afrique, et on peut s'inspirer des 10 domaines clés de la gamme, notamment en matière de coordination nationale. Donc, c'est ça l'esprit de ces instruments. Donc, il faut arriver en matière de gestion de la gamme, de parler le même langage. Donc, il n'y a pas vraiment de disparité. D'autant plus, on parle d'appropriation nationale. C'est ça, c'est là la nuance. Sur la ligne de base, dans la gestion des gammes, les 10 domaines clés, on doit les approprier, mais au point de vue national. Il y a certaines réalités que je pourrais accepter, mais les principes de base restent la même. Je vous le dis, je viens de faire l'expérience tout à l'heure avec l'introduction de Madame du Burundi. On dirait on est en Haïti. Donc, il faut arriver et à s'approprier, tout au moins à améliorer et cette appropriation sur le plan national en ce qui concerne le cycle de vie et de la gestion des armes à feu et de munitions. Donc, nous vivons presque tous les mêmes réalités, que vous soyez du nord ou du sud. On parle d'armes à feu et de munitions. Merci.
Merci aussi pour cette contribution et les commentaires. On vous remercie. There is one final one, and then we would bring it back.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to make a few contributions to what my colleague just said now. And looking at the global community of policy and practice, I do believe that it's a practice that's supposed to be for all. You know, you can't have a different policies for different countries and for other ones. I support that the actual framework and policy should be the one that we all can use. If individual countries have their own issue, that is a bit more different from the normal protocols that we are all trying to achieve. Because I believe that problems in other countries are the same in other countries as well. We all have to face the same challenges. So I believe that we should just have one protocol for all. If it comes to the details, then that might be more different. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, to you. With that, I really think that we should bring it back here. Unfortunately, the time for today, we are coming to an end, and we have a few minutes left also for logistical reasons. I think from our side, I once again wish to thank, of course, Andrea for really the preliminary summary that was provided by you, as well as the additional points that have been made just now and contributed just now. From UNIDIR side, we are committed and we look forward to continuing our path and this primary research pillar, strengthening weapons and ammunition management frameworks at the national level, regional level, but also increasingly multilaterally. And this symposium has been one of the first of its kind, and we'll hear about an opportunity also to monitor and learn from this experience. But certainly looking forward, we have taken note of also some research areas that have been noted and identified that could be of interest. I think with the tool or several tools in this area that UNIDIR has developed and that are already available, there's also further opportunities with regards to the reference methodology for supporting baseline assessments at the national level. One point that struck me today is that by now the reference baseline has grown. It's 15 And I think one point that came for me very strongly this morning was that there may be opportunities also, not just for regional dialogue, but also cross-regional sharing of experiences, including some that were present here today, but maybe moving forward also this is where UNIDIR could also make a contribution. And then there was what was mentioned with regards to the United Nations, where we look forward to continue to promote a whole of system consideration in contexts where there may be a need, and further explore that as well. I think the several points that were made today as well have been well noted, including the primacy of politics and finding political solutions in some context, and to consider those in addition to other important points that were mentioned by United Nations entities. But that's just a few. So to once again underline that we remain fully committed to this and to providing research and knowledge products, support on the use and application of existing tools, further refining it, as well as contributing with further opportunities for dialogue. And with that, maybe that's been a few thoughts from my side, and I believe from our side, but to just underline, and that's in response to the immediate next steps that what we have from our side. We look forward to providing a factual report, a summary report from the proceedings of the symposium of today within the next few months, and hopefully a report that can be and will be made publicly available by UNIDIR, and that we will encourage for all of you also to support us in sharing and further disseminating and using that summary report. Please also, for those that have contributed through speaking engagements, allow us to follow up with you in due time to ensure that we can accurately reflect what has been shared. And we look forward to, of course, cooperating and collaborating with all of you in that moving forward. And that's the immediate next step. But more generally, I think what remains for me is to really and very sincerely thank you all for this, as has been mentioned this morning by our director from UNIDIR. It is our hope that this is a first attempt and first of its kind platform on WAM at the global level, and we look forward to a potential future and similar opportunities that we will have, and to working together and to continue to walk that path together with you. That's from my side, and with this I'd like to hand over to you, Paul, for some closing considerations and remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Hardy. Thank you, Matilde, and thank you, Andrea. So we've come to the end of our first global symposium on weapons and ammunition management. And I'd like to focus my closing remarks on giving my sincere thanks to all of you that participated in this pilot symposium. I should, of course, first begin with thanks to UNIDIR's funders that made this meeting possible, and in particular, Finland, France, Germany, and Switzerland, that so generously continue to fund our work on weapons and ammunition management. We're also very grateful to all of our speakers, especially those of you who traveled many kilometers or miles to get here from Geneva from outside. And we look forward to continuing to strengthen our cooperation with you to strengthen WAM around the world. Thank you for sharing your expertise, your recommendations, and also the challenges that we'll take on if you'll accompany us on the journey to meet them. And I'd also like to thank our wonderful interpreters who may well have disappeared, but I took as a key message from today that we need to be able to communicate effectively for bringing this global WAM community together across regions and across the globe. I'd like to thank every participant here in Geneva in the room that's managed to stay with us, and also those of you joining online. Please do provide your feedback and your recommendations, and we look forward to more opportunities for exchange and cooperation in the future, although no promises on a WAM symposium in 2024. The idea for a global symposium on WAM has been on the desks in UNIDIR for some time, well before the time I joined a couple of years ago. So I'm delighted to see it come to life. And I look forward to reading the key findings in the summary report that Hardy has promised we will release early next year. I now need to see if I can make it available not just in English, French and Spanish, but also Portuguese and other languages I'm sure that will come forward. For those of you that have a few spare hours, you can also rewatch the sessions on YouTube, as they will shortly be made available there on UNIDIR's channel. Today's event, I really have to underline, would not have been made possible without the incredible efforts and the creativity of UNIDIR's conventional arms and ammunition program. And I'd like to give special thanks to my fantastic colleagues. Please take a bow: Matthew, Hannah, Matilde, Theo, Sarah, and Andrea. With special thanks to May for making sure that we could all meet here, that we could eat here, and that for those of you in Geneva, you all get a cap to wear with WAM on it. And a particularly special thanks to Hardy for overseeing the entire process, for putting this symposium together. It's with thanks to him that you're here. It's a privilege to work with such committed colleagues, and I hope that you'll give them the round of applause that they fully deserve when I say, distinguished participants, with deep gratitude, I declare the 2023 Global Symposium on WAM finally closed. Thank you.